You look at the sheer number of policies, the sheer number.
Make it a date with Seun Okunbaloye on Mike On Podcast every Saturday at 7 p.m. as he x-rays issues beyond the regular and dives deeper to depths that allow him bring you answers to questions on your mind. In this podcast room, everything points to accountability, and you are the boss. No one understands how to hold public figures to account like Seun Okunbaloye. Catch Mike On Podcast live this Saturday at 7 p.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Mike On Podcast for the independent mind.
President Bola Tinubu will be re-elected
in 2027.
Yes.
What gives you that confidence?
Primarily because from the policies and the reforms he has put in place. And also because, policies take time. When you look at the top economic experts, they give it a time of between 4 to 6 years before you can really see. I'm talking about key policies now, not even initiatives.
That if the voters see those reforms.
When you look at the alignment of policies touching on key sectors of the economy, look at the solid minerals economy, for instance, lithium and copper and all of this. The size of the world is now. It took this president to give the support, the focus to that sector. Our oil sector, what the story before now is different from what we have. The educational sector, the agri sector, the health sector. As we speak, 5,000 primary health centers are being reinvigorated. Already 1,000 are fully operational. I can go on and on. Let me just, I think by the share, when you sit down and you look at, in just 2 years, you look at the sheer number of policies, the sheer number of initiatives that have been onboarded by this administration, you will see a leadership adept and conversant with development. But more critically, a president that understands that this giant has been punching below its belt, who is now waking up some of those critical things that we prefer to sidestep or just procrastinate about. He's beginning to interrogate them and beginning to confront them, the devils that have held this country down.
You heard El-Rufai say that they will send the president packing.
Is El-Rufai 110 million Nigerians that will vote? How many voters does El-Rufai command? Even if you command them, can you decide who they will cast their votes for? You know what the Yorubas say? So let me you brought in El-Rufai, and I have respect for him. But this idea to equate El-Rufai with Nigeria, to equate El-Rufai with millions of votes, I think is an overreach.
Atiku has said it. Peter Obi has said it.
For one El-Rufai, there are several other El-Rufais who command larger votes, better influence, who are key to the transformation taking place in this country. And we're focused on looking at other key Nigerians.
Look at
El-Rufai is not bigger than any other Nigerian because everybody has a stake in this country.
I mean,
we must respect that.
There are those who fear that El-Rufai can bring this government down and can stop this president because he knows he was one of those who helped to form the party.
My response to that would be go and read Obasanjo's book, My Command.
I've read it.
A living testimony to the very essential core of the person we're talking about. You know Obasanjo? Yes, former president. Mm-hmm. You know who made El-Rufai a minister? You know that? Mm-hmm. When you talk about the 4 or 5 close-set ministers with him, El-Rufai was there. If you want to list 4 people that know El-Rufai, essentially, when he was at his best.
Make it a date with Seun Okunbaloye on Mike On Podcast every Saturday at 7 p.m. as he x-rays issues beyond the regular and dives deeper to depths that allow him bring you answers to questions on your mind. In this podcast room, everything points to accountability, and you are the boss. No one understands how to hold public figures to account like Seun Okunbaloye. Catch Mike on Podcast Live this Saturday at 7 p.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Mike on Podcast for the independent mind.
President Bola Tinubu will be re-elected.
In 2027?
Yes.
What gives you that confidence?
Primarily because from the policies and the reforms he has put in place. And also because, policies take time. When you look at the top economic experts, they give it a time of between 4 to 6 years before you can really see. I'm talking about key policies now, not even initiatives.
If the voters see
but
those
we have
reforms.
seen, when you look at the alignment of policies touching on key sectors of the economy, look at the solid minerals economy, for instance, lithium and copper and all of this. The size of the world is now. It took this president to give the support, the focus in that sector. Our oil sector, what the story before now is different from what we have. The educational sector, the agri sector, the health sector. As we speak, 5,000 primary health centers are being reinvigorated. Already 1,000 are fully operational. I can go on and on. Let me just, I think by the share, when you sit down and you look at, in just 2 years, you look at the sheer number of policies, the sheer number of initiatives that have been onboarded by this administration, you will see a leadership adept and conversant with development. But more critically, a president that understands that this giant has been punching below its belt, who is now waking up some of those critical things that we prefer to sidestep or just procrastinate about. Is beginning to interrogate them and beginning to confront them, the devils that have held this country down.
You heard El-Rufai say that they will send the president packing.
Is El-Rufai 110 million Nigerians that will vote? How many voters does El-Rufai command? Even if you command them, can you decide who they will cast their votes for? You know what the Yorubas say? So let me you brought in El-Rufai, and I have respect for him. But this idea to equate El-Rufai with Nigeria, to equate El-Rufai with millions of votes, I think is an overreach.
Atiku has said it. Peter Obi has said it.
For one El-Rufai, there are several other El-Rufais who command larger votes, better influence, who are key to the transformation taking place in this country. And we're focused on looking at other key Nigerians.
Look at
El-Rufai is not bigger than any other Nigerian because everybody has a stake in this country.
I mean,
we must respect that.
There are those who fear that El-Rufai can bring this government down and can stop this president because he knows he was one of those who helped to form the party.
My response to that would be go and read Obasanjo's book, My Command.
I've read it.
A living testimony to the very essential core of the person we're talking about. You know Obasanjo? Yes, former president. Mm-hmm. You know who made El-Rufai a minister? You know that? Mm-hmm. When you talk about the 4 or 5 close-set ministers with him, El-Rufai was there. If you want to list 4 people that know El-Rufai, essentially, when he was at his best and politically, Obasanjo, I will stick with Obasanjo's testimony about El-Rufai. You said you've read the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just one of the millions of people who are going to be watching this.
No, I don't want to make this an El-Rufai whatever.
Tinubu right now. Does that worry you?
Well, let me respond this way. The perception out there is that the North is not with Bola Tinubu.
Are they?
My response is that the idea that the North is monolithic is erroneous. I was born in the North. I lived in the North for over 35 years before I made it to the Southwest. I built friends. I worked in the North. I schooled in the North. As a journalist, I started reporting from the North. I've interviewed so many top Northern leaders. So without going into the dynamics of the development within the North, Let me start by saying every geopolitical zone or region in this country, through its leaders who attain prominent political positions in government, have a responsibility to their own people and to their own region. So, starting point is, just like the North, the Southwest, the South-South, the Southeast must first hold up the screening for the leaders who have been in power, who are still in power. What have they done? What are they doing for their people? That's one. Two, you see, the jury is out about whether the North is against Bola Tinubu. Like I said, I don't have any empirical data to that. And I also play a major role in Hausa radio broadcasts. I consume a lot of TikTok and social media, whatever. And you can see, just as you find perhaps a tribe or a segment of people in the North who are not happy with certain developments, certain appointments, certain policies in the North, you also find them in the Southwest. You find them in the Southeast. I want to depart from this idea of the North. The North is not Nigeria. Nigeria is about the socio-political zone. It's about the Yoruba man, the Hausa man, the Igbo man, the ethnic nationalities, the Ijaw man. And that's what governance at the highest level is about. That's what Bola Tinubu is about. He's concerned more about what benefits the entire country.
Do you want to be governor of your state?
Another trick question. Sean, right now, I am focused on the assignment I've been given. And why? I think that the question of, or the issue of public communication, of public engagement, of communicating government policies, of making sure that the people understand what government is doing, but also getting feedback to the government. I think that assignment is very critical.
So the ambition,
that is a role.
The ambition of your governor is off.
Is in abeyance for now.
So 2027, you don't have the intention of becoming governor?
No, I do not.
Who would you be supporting?
Well, it depends when we hold the primaries.
Adelabu seems to have shown interest.
Adelabu is just one of the candidates.
This week, crackled with tension as the ADC blasted Bola Tinubu over power failures, while protests by retired police officers grappled Abuja in defiance of the rain. The Senate doubled down on Natasha Kpoti's suspension, and Amaechi rode against a Tinubu re-election. APC crowned a new national chairman as PDP vowed a fierce comeback in 2027. Here is a breakdown of the biggest stories from this week. This week begins with a sharp rebuke from the African Democratic Congress ADC as the party slams President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for failing to deliver on his 2023 campaign promise of 24/7 electricity. The ADC spokesman Bolaji Abdullahi noted that halfway into Tinubu's tenure, tariffs have surged, the grid has collapsed 12 times, and over 19 million Nigerians still lack stable power. On Tuesday, retired police officers defied heavy rain to stage a protest, blocking the gates of the National Assembly and force headquarters in Abuja, demanding their removal from the contributory pension scheme. The elderly protesters, some in their 70s, decried the system as exploitative and unjust. Despite appeals for calm, they vowed not to leave until action was taken. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, the Senate reaffirmed the suspension of Kogi Central lawmaker Senator Natasha Kpotiuduaghan, stating she will not return until after the recess. Senate spokesman Senator Yemi Adaramodu dismissed her attempted comeback as a full-blown drama amid the ongoing fallout from her allegations against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. On Thursday, former Transportation Minister Rotimi Amaechi warned that re-electing President Bola Tinubu in 2027 will worsen economic hardship, urging Nigerians to vote him out or die of hunger. Speaking in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, Amaechi accused the APC of rigging elections and called on his supporters to mobilize ahead of 2027 under the African Democratic Congress. On Friday, the National Executive Council of the All Progressives Congress APC elected Professor Nentawe Yelwatda as its 8th national chairman in 13 years. Nominated by Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State and ratified at the presidential villa, Yelwatda replaces Ali Bukar Dalori. Professor Nentawe described described the role as both a trust and a burden, calling for unity within the party to expand its reach and credibility. To wrap this week's top headlines, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Governors Forum Chairman and Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed vowed the party will give the All Progressives Congress (APC) a tough fight in the 2027 general elections. Speaking at the NEC meeting in Abuja, the governor said the PDP is united and working behind the scenes to remain strong. And that's a wrap for this week's top headlines. See you next week.
Lines are hardening, alliances are shaking, and ambitions are spilling into the open as 2027 general elections draw near. Stick around as we bring you the biggest trending stories and commentaries. That is trending after declaring for president under the Abure-led Labour Party, vowing to reunite the party and shun coalition talks with Peter Obi ahead of the 2027 presidential election. But many Nigerians are skeptical, wondering if it's a calculated game. Theo Abu on X says that he couldn't be president under Abure-led, Wike-controlled Labour Party. You can now see that these people are working for the APC to retain power. Jack the Builder says, "Dear Obedience, Dati and PO know what they're doing. If some people have hijacked the coalition and think we come and dash them our handwork, they must be dreaming. If they want the coalition to work, they know what to do. We'll keep watching them for now." Omega XD says, "I don't know much, but I trust Dati's move. Watch the space." Peter Obi on nothing is trending as supporters double down on their loyalty amid ongoing coalition talks. While some insist Obi remains the only path forward, others argue that without strategic alliances and national realignment, his chances in 2027 may dim. Fatai Ibrahim on X says, "You have to make your stand known if you want to work in Nigeria or you want to enjoy your episodes of nepotism. As for me and my family, we simply want a nation that works for everybody. That is why we're saying it is Peter Obi or nothing." The Empress says, "Whatever the coalition says now shouldn't be taken seriously. They are playing a politics I love to see. No one right now can predict their next move. APC is confused, Tinubu is confused, Wike is confusedly wailing, INEC is confused, but last it's Peter Obi or nothing." Olaye TD Esquire says, "Peter Obi can continue with his media appearances and his obedient movement, may persist in issuing strong declarations like Peter Obi or nothing. However, none of these alone will make him president. What will truly make him president are strategic negotiations, political alignment and realignment, and building broad-based alliances across the country. It is also important that Peter Obi shows leadership by constructively engaging and guiding his supporters against assaulting Atiku verbally." Atiku is trending as debates intensify over his role in shaping Nigeria's future. While some hail him as a statesman and a symbol of decent politics, others urge him to step aside and support the southern candidate in 2027. Yunusa Mohammed Salusi on X says, "Finally, someone is saying what my ears have been wanting to hear. This is just the reality of the whole thing. His Excellency Atiku should play the role of a father in the nation so that we can rescue this country from the hands of this failed government of the APC." GRV Stan says, "The only way Atiku Abubakar will be forgiven by Nigerians is when he supports Peter Obi to become Nigeria's president in 2027. Do you agree?" Dr. Elmore says, "Atiku Abubakar is the most decent politician alive in Nigeria. He is a non-violent man who is playing politics in a violent and crooked environment. Atiku has the best and the only non-violent followers in the history of Nigeria. He is the definition of decent politics." And that's a wrap for this week's trending stories. See you again next week. Bye for now.
In this edition of the Mike On Podcast.
As the mic comes on, the conversations get louder and more focused on the issues that matter. In this edition of the Mike On Podcast, we are joined by author and media strategist JJ Omojuwa, a man known for his bold opinions. He dives into the current state of governance under President Tinubu, the growing coalition taking shape ahead of 2027, and his much talked about fallout with the El-Rufais. Join Seun Imbalui as he steers this conversation today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mike On Podcast. I am Seun Okimbaloye. Nigeria's socio-political landscape is complex, layered, and often shaped by deep-rooted ethnic, economic, and institutional tensions. You can see that on social media bans and arguments every day. Tonight, we have a lot of grounds to cover because in the coming months, Nigeria's democratic institutions may face a true test. The opposition is regrouping, positioning itself to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, not just on policy or other polls, but these key questions are worth answering. Is the opposition doing enough to offer constructive criticism and offer what could influence national discourse? Can they rise above internal divisions to form a united...
A wristwatch gift. Now, because of our relationship, you're not going to think it's big. You obviously be grateful that my person, my friend, my ally has given me a gift. The gift would become quite big if I came to you, or if I went on social media tomorrow morning, let's say we had a fight before morning, or in 10 years' time or 14 years' time, and I started to talk about it. But in the real context, when I received the gift, it was nothing, which is interesting because now, since this conversation actually happened this year, I've been very careful, which is a bad place to be. I'm sure I'm going to recover from there, but I've been very careful to accept gifts from people. I'm very, very judgmental. I look at you, I'm like, okay, if I accept this gift, is there a potential of me regretting this
Backlash
in 14 years' time? But on a whole, though, let's be clear, there is really nothing that happened. The people that gave me these gifts, I gave them gifts myself. I'm not going to come out and start saying, oh, I gave them this, but I know that.
So you're talking about the El-Rufais?
Like I said, I don't want to. Once you start to mention names, you lose.
But there was someone who gave you the gift. Are you ungrateful? Are you ungrateful? Because if someone gave you a gift of iPad 14 years ago,
yeah,
that was an
I don't know
elitist
why
gift.
you're asking if I'm ungrateful, because at the point of receiving a gift, the natural thing you would do is to say thank you. If the gift then becomes the crux of a conversation that never should have been, there's no thank you for that. I'm not going to thank you.
Why did you fall out with the El-Rufais?
There was really no fallout.
Are you still friends with Malam?
Fallout. I don't think I'm enemies with him. There's no fallout in the sense that our politics is in a place where things are resettling. People are moving from one political position to the other. I'm the kind of person that I'd rather look at what's on the table and decide if this works for me or not. At the time, maybe I would have naturally just followed somebody's path, but fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not in a world or universe right now where Seun Okin is moving left, so JJ has to move left to Seun Okin. That's not how I take my decisions now. I'm more thoughtful of my decisions. I'm more considerate of my decisions. I'm more strategic with my decisions. And the beauty of that is that whatever consequences will come on the back of those decisions, I'll be happier. Whether good or bad, I'll be happier that it was a decision that I took by myself. But if I start to follow people about...
Yeah, what really happened? Why? What happened between you and the El-Rufais?
Literally nothing happened.
No, because you were close to the family. Did you snitch on them?
You know why this is funny? I didn't see this coming. I thought I was going to discuss.
Yeah, but I mean,
just to be clear,
when the interview was going to start, I just remember that you are owing someone an iPad.
Remember, you did it intentionally. But just to be clear, we used to be very close. We became allies around 2011 via social media, and we aligned on a lot of things. We share ideologies when it comes to how economies should run. We had conversations around Atlas Shrugged, for instance, around Fountainhead. These are books by Ayn Rand, by the way. We just seem to agree on certain ideologies, right? And we did connect. And I think there's also an element of where he was at the time, which was opposition. And my voice was, before I met him, my voice was strongly
opposition to the then government. So there was a natural alignment which we did between 2011 to 2015 when he became governor. And after I became governor, nothing happened.
And you were
not
frequent
seeing
there.
each other. No, I wasn't
you were
frequent.
benefiting. You were. There are those who say you were frequent in Kaduna.
Okay, but this is I think common sense would be that if if you were governor, if you had given someone an iPad gift 4 years before you became governor, and you were governor for 8 years, and there's a perceived fallout on account of you not moving in the same direction, and people are going to insult you about how they've been kind to you, and what they can remember is what they gave you 4 years before they went to government house. I think that evidence speaks for itself. And I was very clear when I was thanking them for what they did to me. It was the iPad. I didn't collect any contracts from them. I didn't collect any privileges from them. They didn't put me on any platform that I've been on, and God has been kind to me. I've been on platforms literally all around the world to this moment. Everything has been God's grace, and some other people I'm thankful for. But in this particular case, what I can be thankful for is the iPad, and I was already thankful for it anyway. I don't owe them, frankly speaking, and they know this. I don't owe them anything. If I did, they would have mentioned it. It's their nature to do these things. So, and that's why they did what they did. And I don't take it personal. I think that when people have a sense of expectation on account of maybe your history, and that expectation falls short, they can react based on that. And I think that's why they reacted. But I think it was unnecessary. But I don't take it personal. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Do you regret your relationship with that family?
I don't do regrets personally. I think regret is a waste of time. I do reflection. I do lessons. I don't do regrets. Regret is a waste of time. So reflection in that, you look at what decisions you took, you look at what relationships you were with, and you ask yourself, what would I do differently? So in that sense, you're more to the future than you're to the past. And that makes sense because you're not going to do anything about the past, but you can do a lot about the future. So in that sense, I'm grateful that at a relatively early stage of my life, I'm able to have that kind of example behind me and use that to moderate the kind of relationships and decisions and allyship that I make. But interestingly, frankly speaking, even though this whole thing spilled out in 2025, is this 2025 or 2027?
This 2025.
Yes, in 2025. Personally, I have detached myself since 2017. I've detached myself since 2017.
If you see any of the Erufai, including Malam today, what would you say to them?
If my hand doesn't get to hang, I would extend a handshake. I personally do not have any. I don't have any personal thing. There's no fight, right? We, like I said, we just didn't align. By 2017, I walked away. I stopped visiting. I stopped being available. I remember getting an email from the governor at the time, like, oh, you are traveling everywhere. You're not coming to Kaduna. I just walked away. When I got an appointment to be on the board of Kashim Ibrahim Fellows in 2018, frankly speaking, I was surprised. Because by this point, I was minding my business. But I accepted it. I gave it my best shot, and that was it. But by 2017, personally, I was done. I didn't want to be part of that setup anymore. The reason why it became an issue now, so 2017, as far as I was concerned, there was no fight, but I just was done. I didn't want to be part of that anymore.
What triggered that?
I don't want to talk about that. Now,
is it personal?
Yeah, it's personal. I don't want to talk about it.
Between you and Malam?
No. It's just me seeing that for my own POV, there's nothing happening here. So let me just go. For my own POV, like it was like, what am I doing here? I think I'd been to the States 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, I don't have nothing is happening here for me. So I took a walk, and I didn't fight, I didn't complain, I didn't come on the internet to tweet anything. I took that walk, and I was minding my business till I got this appointment. And even after that appointment, I focused strictly on that responsibility of being a board member. So anytime I was in that state was on account of board membership. And when things moved to the virtual platform, I wasn't there, right? The reason why this thing spilled and is a conversation where we probably would never have discussed this. Nobody would have known anything if it wasn't that he then had to move to another party, and in moving to another party, certain people that we were allies with, like Malam Senator Ubasani and Malam Ribaju, it was going to not be with them. And I made it clear that I was with these people. If he didn't move, if he had stayed in this party, nobody would have known.
So you're a lover and supporter of the present governor Ubasani.
100%.
And the NSA.
Because Ubasani, before he became senator, when he became senator, before he became governor, when he became governor, there's been no difference in our relationship. In this context, I've just told you that Ubasani, before he became senator, he became senator. When he was a senator, before he became governor, he became governor. Everything with him and me has been consistent. I don't need to rethink, negotiate, or remove myself from there because I feel like I'm not supposed to be here.
So you're an APC at heart right now?
APC at heart? In what way? Because first
are you a member of the APC?
Officially, I'm not. But if I were to run for public office today, 100%, I'll run under APC.
So you're an apologist of the APC?
Apologist is not a word I like.
You're a supporter?
I agree with the president's design for Nigeria at this time. I agree with his ideas. I agree with his restructuring of Nigeria. I have posted things years ago that Nigeria requires a form of madness to change, a paradigm shift. And when you look at some of the big decisions the president has been taking, I agree with them. And interestingly, by the way, a lot of the people that say they don't like him now, some of them because they didn't get appointed, some of them because their party lost, some of them because they were in a stronger position during the last administration, now they are not, for different reasons. But none of them, not a single one of them, which is why I'm happy with them, it means they are rational people, not a single one of them has come online or on TV to say that they would do it, they would not take the decisions that the president has taken. The only thing they've done is that they will do it differently, which is what anybody would say, right?
So, and if you look at some of the comments about your ideologies and your commentaries, some say your political commentaries are often biased, opportunistic, and aligned with whoever holds power at the center, starting from Buhari to Tinubu.
That's irrational because anybody who uses their brain to the fullest capacity would have seen that I largely ignored Buhari's government.
Because
you didn't like it. The beauty of this conversation we're having is most of it is not verbal, that you said you did not say. It's written. If you go on my Twitter, between 2015, when Buhari became president, and 2023, if you saw my support for Buhari, you probably would have seen it in 2015, 2016. After that, I was largely, they said I became a football commentator. I largely ignored, and I wrote about it in Punch, actually, in this day, on Friday. I said during his administration, I was saying some nice things about him as a person. I said during his administration, I took a physical and mental break from Nigeria. Physical in that I left the country. Because
you think that Nigeria is not working under Buhari?
Not because I think that Nigeria is not working under Buhari, because my expectations of what was going to happen and what was happening were vastly different. And that was a real shock for me, and I couldn't hold it. And because I'm a hypocrite, I didn't want to have a go at the government because I had been part of bringing that government in.
So you're a hypocrite?
Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. You mentioned it. I'm accepting that I'm a hypocrite.
Who did?
But you said it you assumed it in your, but the beauty of my hypocrisy.
Yeah.
The beauty of my hypocrisy is that it's an awareness. And it elevates me over any human being who is not aware of their hypocrisy. Because by design, every human being is a hypocrite.
Really?
Yes, by design.
But
I'm not speaking opinion.
Yeah, but Buhari government, from your own point of view, after leaving office, your assessment of the Buhari government, how would you put it?
I haven't taken time to assess Buhari's government.
Do you think that was a good time for Nigeria?
Depends on from what point of view you're looking at it. If we have a complex view at Buhari's government, let's take it from the progression of global oil prices. Global oil prices started to dwindle from 2013, 2014. Oil prices started to come down from the $100. So Buhari came in at the point this thing was going down. The Nigerian economy, just like the global economy actually at the time, was such that if anything happened to the oil price, something was going to happen to you. So if oil price was going this way, even if you put somebody that had no capacity to use their brain as president, as long as oil prices were above 100, there will be money on the table. And with money on the table, you're always going to do the conventional thing. You build roads, your numbers will always rise. By the time Buhari came in, this was coming down. That required some strategic level of thinking to then say, where do we cut costs? Where do we improve revenue? Where do we do some restructuring? Now, it's easy for me to sit here and say those things, but what we have learned with President Bola Tinubu's administration is that those decisions come at a cost. And those decisions are actually quite political because your opponents will always use those things against you, which was why when Buhari was telling, according to Governor Diko Rada, get well soon, by the way, he had an accident recently, which was why he was telling the governor that he's happy that, I'm not going to quote him directly, that President Bola Tinubu didn't consult too much before he took this decision, because he was consulting and he didn't take this decision. And it looked like he felt that he should have taken that decision. So it depends on how you look at it. This man came in handicapped.
So you're a Baptist?
I don't know. So the thing is, we throw these words around, but I've just told you that I agree with the president's ideas. So if, I don't know what they, so they say, they call it Tinubunomics. So if Tinubunomics, for instance, means that the stock market continues to grow in record numbers, by the way, the best numbers since 1999 for our stock market ever. If these ideas mean that our rating by the world's major rating agencies, Fitch, S&P Global, Moody's, that Nigeria is stable, if by these ideas we mean that companies that used to declare losses are now declaring profits, and the ones that used to declare profits are declaring record profits, inflation numbers are going down, there is a positive general reflection on the state of Nigeria's economy, then I'm very much aligned. So, because too many times when people throw these words around, they don't throw it around ideas, they throw it around personality.
Ideologically, you're a Baptist in the present political scheme.
I've just made the point that as long as the president is doing these things that Nigeria needs for it, it's a surgery, bro.
But the problem is, can you honestly, Omojuwa, say there is a coherent national direction under this president? Or is this administration simply reacting, not leading, considering what are popular or a lot of Nigerians feel as a rampant pain and groaning of the average and the poor in this country at the moment?
You said a lot of Nigerians said what?
I mean, if a lot of Nigerians are feeling pain about the economy, about the situation of things, the capacity to the purchasing power, would you honestly say that this government has a coherent national direction?
Let's be clear about something. These are some of the toughest times for Nigerians. Food prices, I know numbers are coming down, but food prices went up, transportation prices. And the thing about transportation prices, they have a multidimensional effect on
literally all prices, or
everything,
most
right?
of commodities.
Right. These have been tough times for Nigeria. The same way it would be tough for anyone who has undergone a surgery. Footballers, they sometimes play injured. Then the doctor will then tell you that if you don't do this surgery, it will either result in you not being able to play football again or reduce your ability to play for much longer. So you either have to then go and do that surgery and maybe miss out for 6 months, or maybe even miss the entire season, or be out completely for the summer, knowing that when you come back, you'll be better. But I don't know how much you've read from footballers who have been out during this period. It's not a physical thing. It's not just a physical thing. It's mental, it's emotional, it disrupts their family unit, it messes up with their heads. They have a lot of thought about their lives and their choices. Some of them almost get to the point of depression because by design, it's an unusual place to be, to have to take a tough decision that more or less stops you from doing what you are doing or stops you from doing what you are used to doing. Nigeria is going through a surgical operation, right? And it's an operation that it needed to go through. Not to go through it is to suffer worse than we're suffering now. So the pain of this moment is momentary. The pain of these times are momentary.
The pain that people are feeling right now, which they say is temporary.
Yeah.
The question a lot of people now asking, when will the pain end?
It's a good question. When rain is about to fall, you know that rain. Before the rain starts to drizzle, you already know that.
You see the clouds.
There are certain
forming
signs that will tell you, this is going to rain. Before even the signal of rain, there are certain decisions that. So people say something about it's not rocket science. I find that statement funny because rocket science is the simplest thing in the world. Rocket science is the simplest thing in the world. Rocket science is predictable because rocket science is built on first principles. If you measure the right thing, if you look at the conditions of the earth in terms of how the weather is, how much moist you have, how much humidity, heat, you pick out your right material, you understand your E equals MC squared. When you do all of that, it's all mathematical, it's all based on science and mathematics, and it's hard science. If you do everything right, you launch, it goes. But you know what's harder? Mm-hmm. Anything that has to do with humans. Because unlike maths, where 2 + 2 is always 4, human interactions is always different. A good place to look at it is football, again, or sports. One team beats one team, then you expect that because that team that this team lost another team, this team that beats this team should beat that other team too, but they go and play that other team, but that other team beats them. It's different. I bring it back to the question, which is that when it comes to economic principles, mm-hmm. certain things are expected to happen if you do certain things. Right? Mm-hmm. Nigeria had done those certain things. At the point we did those certain things, we didn't know what was going to happen, but there were certain expectations. Now, the beauty of where we are now, 2 years after, is that those certain things are beginning to happen. Number one, Nigeria has found itself in a position where it doesn't pay the difference between the market value of dollar and the control value of dollar, because the market value of dollar and the control value of dollar are united. And when people use words like convergence, the ordinary person doesn't even understand what convergence means. Convergence basically means that the market has achieved unity. It's a stable, it's a perfect market. Nobody's controlling how much you're going to buy dollar. The market is making that decision for you. And that has an effect on your ability to attract foreign investments. Watch 2 years' time as these numbers continue to rise. Another effect we've seen is in the stock exchange, record numbers. The beauty of this conversation is these are not opinions. These are numbers that we can see. Record numbers.
So you are telling Nigerians that you might be going through pains. Just wait.
The other thing is that...
But the question,
you have
not answered.
Sorry, I switched to Yoruba. I'm answering it. The other thing is that even the cost of things that had risen is already beginning to come down. And they will continue to come down. But the real thing, though, the real thing that is going to happen is that Nigeria, having built a system where it was bringing prices down for its people inorganically, not minding their ability to buy those. What it was more concerned about was that just bring the prices down because our people don't have capacity to afford these things. It's now building an economy where the people have capacity to buy these things. So we are actually enabling the people rather than building an inorganic market system where virtually everything was falsely priced.
Omojuwa,
and that's the reality of the global economy.
In your analysis,
Yeah.
there are those who have faulted some of the policy decisions and the direction that Nigeria...
What's their argument for faulting?
And there are those who say, if it were Peter Obi, things would have been better.
Oh my
if it
God.
was Atiku Abubakar, it would have been better.
Oh, Jesus.
There are those who believe that out of the lot who ran for office, Tinubu's policy directions are worse off and is endangering the Nigerian economy, and the lives of the average person is getting worse.
Are you done?
Yes, the question.
Okay. What's Peter Obi's greatest idea?
He said he's going to turn Nigeria from consumption to production.
Thank you.
Don't you think that that's what we need?
Oh, my brother. The richest countries in the world are the biggest consumers in the world. First of all, hold that. There is no rich country that doesn't have heavy consumption. So any human being that tells you that is going to turn a country from consumption to production as a way of saying it's going to make the country prosperous, either doesn't know what he's saying or he's just trying to fool you.
So consumption dependent, that is the idea.
But
so if he's, because that's what I interpreted what he was saying, that Nigeria was just consuming without producing, and we're too reliant.
So you don't need to hammer on the consumption. Just say you're going to increase Nigeria's capacity for production, because as long as Nigeria is prosperous, there will be consumption.
So you are faulting Peter Obi's grants on his campaign?
I'm just giving you logic.
Is it that you don't like him? Because
my brother, I'm just you know the beauty of this conversation.
Yeah.
The only time we've had a personal conversation was at the beginning where you were talking about my friends or old friends, I don't know, right? This one is not personal. This is science. There is no rich country in the world where there is no heavy consumption. So don't tell me you are turning a country from consumption to production. If you want Nigeria to be prosperous, then you have to expect that there will be a lot of... In fact, if there's no consumption, there will be poverty. My brother, if there's no consumption, there will be poverty. You know why? Prosperity is built on the back of consumption. If I buy this watch, many families are going to go home happy. The people that sold this are going to help their family. If I live here and I go to a restaurant, the profit is going to affect families. The reason why when that restaurant existing means that people are coming to buy food and people are going to have jobs. Consumption, my brother,
but the rationality,
listen.
No, hold on. The rationality is that we consume more than we produce.
Consumption is a productive activity. So you've got to understand that. Let's be clear.
That is his own position.
I'm taking these things from first principles. And once you understand the first principles, you don't get bamboozled by people that don't even know what they are saying. Consumption is a productive activity. If there is no consumption, you're finished as a country. If people are not buying, you are finished. Consumption is not a negative thing. It's a productive activity. In fact, the more people are buying, the more your economy is booming. Let's be clear about that.
So you are convenient
and isolate
with
that
the
from
Nigerian
production.
situation where we literally import almost everything. Food.
Our problem is not even, look at the numbers. You have a phone there, look at the numbers. Nigeria doesn't even import enough compared to countries its size.
But no,
our problem is a lack of
comparison of your production to what you consume.
My brother, I just told you, isolate that consumption. First of all, isolate it. I've tackled it, so isolate it. Don't talk about it again. Now let's talk about production. Nigeria is not producing enough. True. And the numbers are embarrassing. Now, if I'm going to hire, if two people come to me and they say that, let's even assume this person has not said consumption, production, which would have like, you just get out. You don't know what you're saying. Let's even assume that I have not heard the person say, yeah, you want this job, okay. You, what do you have to offer? Me, in my house, I sweep, I wash my clothes, my watch is the only one I've been using for 17 years. I have one shoe. I study market to market something, and I've looked at this company. The problem of this company is that it is a forex problem. That is a forex problem. I'm like, okay. I won't tell them together because you have to then listen to that person and hope that they will say something that won't piss you off. And the person says, well, first of all, your country has a revenue problem. And this is what I'm going to do about your revenue problem. Second of all, your country has a dysfunctional problem with its structure, whereby the country is subsidizing the rich via an arbitrage system in forex exchange. What I'm going to do is build a system where that is converged, where in essence, people will have access to FX at the market rate and the country doesn't have to spend billions of dollars defending nonsense. The person says that. The person also says that I'll build a system where we stop creating an inorganic system of cheap prices and focus on empowering our people and increasing their capacity to assess price and assess products. That's what I intend to do, one. And then secondly, I don't give the person the job to say, oh, this sounds nice, because clearly Nigeria has a revenue problem. Clearly Nigeria has a dysfunctional economic problem. And then the person starts to do it. Obviously, I see the effect. People are angry, people are hungry, there's a direct effect in their income. And this is me assuming I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, this thing you said you would do, what's going on? It's causing hunger. And the person says, as a matter of fact, there was no part of this solution that was going to be so straightforward that it wouldn't cause some problems. But I assure you, as we go along, there'll be changes. And then time goes on, I realize that, as a matter of fact, revenue has increased. The previous year, the first full year of the administration, state governments got 6 trillion naira more than they've ever gotten. The last FAC number is a record number. Then I look at the stock exchange. The numbers are the best they've ever been. Nigerians are talking about the stock exchange these days every day. The interesting thing about our country is that when there's a positive effect from a government policy, people have the conversation as though it's something that just happened. But when there's a negative effect, we ascribe it to the government. But that's a different thing entirely. I'm not going to put somebody in power when they tell me that if you're my manager and I'm paying you 20 million naira per month, and I tell you, and I ask you, how did you spend your weekend? You say, oh, I spent my weekend sweeping the house to avoid to prevent my driver from stealing my fuel. I had to be in the car also to make sure that when he's buying the fuel, I'm in the car. I don't have a house girl. I do the sweeping myself. I wash my clothes. My brother, I'm going to fire you. Because it's clear you have no understanding of the value of time. And you don't understand the essence of management. And you don't understand the essence of prioritizing managerial capacity.
Those who say that...
this, for me, is common sense.
Those who say that Tinubu's policies on his handling of the situation in the country is not the best, you're faulting them. You think that out of the lot who ran for election in 2023... Out of the lot who ran for election in 2023, which of them have said they will reverse full subsidy? Question one. Out of the lot who ran for election in 2023, which of them have said that they will bring back the dollar arbitrage? Out of the lot who ran for election in 2023, which of them have said that the government's tax design they will reverse? So in your own estimation... I'm
asking you very simple questions. Which of them?
So in your own estimation, it was the best candidate in 2023.
My brother, which of them?
No.
These are the biggest decisions.
In your own estimation...
Out of the lot, one more question. Out of the lot, which of them have said that they will reverse NEL fund, loans for students?
So in your own estimation, with all of this, you think Tinubu was the best candidate in 2023?
You know the reason why Nigeria's conversation... You know the reason why conversations in Nigeria... why many people gather and they have the conversation, they are often devoid of rationality. Once you put rationality on the table, people will just sit down and listen. Do you know why? Do you know why people, once rationality gets on the table, do you know why people start talking about why is he wearing the white dress? The other time in his interview, he was wearing the white dress. Oh, his lips, I hope my lips are not cracking this time. His lips are cracking. Why are the lips cracking? They didn't even put powder on his face. You know why they do things like that? Because they can't speak to your argument. They can't speak to your position. Because your position is strong, your position is rational, your position will stand the test of time. So, but if it's about personality, everybody can throw personality.
So you voted for Tinubu in 2023?
Yeah, clearly, because he had the best idea.
And you will do it again?
Nigeria is not like Germany, where you could run multiple times. But if we had a design where it would run multiple times, and I have assurance that he would continue to take these tough decisions, I would vote him as many times as possible. Because first of all, like I told you, like I asked you, none of this, do you know the funny thing? These individuals that want to replace him, if they allow their spirits to just go and vote rationally, they would vote for Bola Tinubu. In fact, they won't just vote for him, they'll be campaigning for him. How do I know that? Not a single one of them has said they will reverse any of his big decisions. Not half of them has said that.
What do you say to those who say,
those?
Hold on, just for a moment, that you've turned from being a watchdog that a lot of people know you for to now being a cheerleader?
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
That's a very good question. Now, you know why it's a very good question? It comes from people that want you in a box and want you to stay in that box. I do not exist in a world where I want to just be making noise for the sake of noise. I don't want to be people that are 50 and 60 and the best they can do is tweet about Nigeria's problems. I don't want to be a child when I have a challenge, I scream and I shout and I cry. Or a teenager, when I want to get something, I scream. And then I become, at 25, I want to get something, I scream and I shout. At 30, I want to get something, I scream and I shout. At 40, I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that his tools of engagement evolve as time evolves. So there was a time in my life when the only thing I could do when I saw a problem was to scream. I would go out there and tweet about it. Now, yesterday, for instance, I saw a minister. And I was like, I love what you're doing, but please, there's a particular Nigerian embassy in Sweden. There's a racket going on in that embassy. Please fix it. If I go on Twitter to tweet about that, I would consider myself a mad person. You know why? The person that has the capacity to solve the problem, I have access to him. I have told him. I'm not going to go. If I come to your office, if I come to this space, and the place is rowdy, should I go and tweet about that the place is rowdy, or should I send you a WhatsApp message? I would send you a WhatsApp message. So
you change your strategy.
It's not change of strategy. It's just natural.
So you are belonging rather than criticism.
When a child goes from crying and screaming about everything to saying, "Daddy, don't worry, I'll handle it," what happens to the child? So you've not answered any of my questions this night.
No, I'm not the one to answer your question. You are here to answer the question.
Do you know why you cannot answer those questions? Because they are rhetorical questions. There's no response for those questions.
Omojuwa.
When a child, excuse me, sir.
I like to know.
I like when people call me Omojuwa because it means the conversation is getting serious. But you can also call me JJ. When a child goes from, first of all, when you give birth to a baby cries about everything. And it's just the nature of a baby, because they don't have the capacity for language. A time then comes, baby has capacity for language. They then say, "Mommy, I want that." But because their capacity for language is limited, if you say no, they cannot argue, they cry. They cannot say, "Mommy, you shouldn't say no because this thing is good for my head." They cannot make an argument because their capacity for language, though there, it is still limited. So they cry. When that child is 15 and the child says, "Mommy, I don't know if you'd buy me the latest Jordans." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't buy you Jordans at the moment. I'm still gathering money for your school fees." Depending on the child and the speed of their growth, they'll be like, if it's a child that is actually growing fast, if their brain is growing fast, they'll immediately understand, okay, priorities. My school fees is definitely more important than Jordan's. A time will come when that child wouldn't even be able to go to the mother and say, Mommy, I want to buy shoes, because that child is 35. That child is 40. At that point in time, that child knows that there's nobody to cry to. You've got to fix it. So however you want to define it, I have gone from this person that has to shout and scream about something to this person that just sends a text message and these things get fixed up. Do you know how many problems I fix for Nigerians all over the world that doesn't come on the internet just by me sending a message to people that need to fix them? You know why I'm different from some of these people? I don't have time for grandstanding. I don't have time to come on the internet. I've seen situations where somebody had access to a governor and you're asking the governor to do something, you're also tweeting about it. I would never do a thing like that. If I'm telling the right person who has the power to fix, the capacity to fix something, the means to fix something, if I'm already talking to them to fix it and they are fixing it, why should I come online to talk about it? But if that means belonging, if that means whatever, the point is, I am here to make change happen. I am here to fix things. And my tools of engagement have evolved, thankfully. Can you imagine if in my third decade on Twitter, because I got on Twitter in 2009, my first account, in my third decade on Twitter, the best I can still do is to just go and tweet. That would be such a tragedy.
So you are open to take a political appointment now?
It depends on the appointment, frankly speaking.
Or would you take one?
If the right appointment that allows me the best of my ability, that allows me the fullness of my expression, that allows me to make decisions and take responsibility for my success and my failure, I will take it right away. But if it's just an appointment for its sake, it will be the first time I'm like, I'm sorry.
But it's curious though.
Yeah.
You confidently declared that Peter Obi will never become Nigeria's president. Isn't that an overtly absolute verdict in a democracy known for its surprises, especially when the same system once brought an opposition candidate like Buhari to power after 3 failed attempts?
You know why I like the question? The question intentionally pretends that I didn't give the reason why it wouldn't be president. So because he didn't give it, I'm going to give it. I said that it wouldn't become president on account of certain things. And the funny thing is, even people that were allies with him have been on your podcast, and they've also more or less said the same thing in different ways. There's a philosopher that says something, that if you continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, and Peter Obi, he knows that too. You know why? He has compromised his position. So Peter Obi was of the system, a beneficiary of the system, of the old order. He was governor of Anambra State under Abga. By the time he left, he stopped being governor. He desperately wanted to become a minister. He tried to become aviation minister. It didn't work out. Eventually, Jonathan just made him chairman of SEC anyway. Jonathan was on his way out. I think this was April 2015, and he still took it. Right? It took Buhari to fire him as chairman of SEC. Eventually, he runs as Atiku's vice presidential candidate. So full-blooded PDP member, becoming a presidential candidate under, running under a PDP ticket. From there, he then becomes born again under this new political system, Labour Party, becomes completely born again, different, fresh Nigerian, had never been part of the old order. He enjoyed some miraculous change and perception, and unfortunately for him, that did not carry him to the presidency. And then he comes back and says, what changed? What do I need to change? What has he been doing? He's been going to be with, in bed with the same people that he said were the structure of criminality. He's shaking hands with them, he's sitting with them, he's signing his names with them. He's now, I use the word compromised, but it's not compromised. He's gone back to where he actually has always been, right? But you know why it won't be enough? It won't be enough because that political system expects you to pay your price. And you're not going to pay that price via pajawiri. Pajawiri is urgency. You pay that price over time. In the political design they've just had, called ADC, Atiku has paid more of that price to ultimately get the ticket for that party. Peter Obi hasn't. Peter Obi has gone in there as part of this is desperation to be president. And he won't do enough. He won't get the ticket.
Why do you think he won't?
I just told you.
He has definitely said he won't be a running mate. That is his main aim.
He's free
to run to be a candidate.
And I'm happy for him that he has said that. I'm happy for him. What I'm saying is, the design of the ADC is not the design of the Labour Party that it was in. The ADC is a conventional mainstream. The ADC is evolving into a conventional mainstream Nigerian political party where the conventional old-time players that have defined our politics for as long as 5 decades are playing. And how there's a certain way they work. One, they need to trust you. And that trust is often on the back of several handshakes over many years. Peter Obi has not shaken those hands. And also, even the few ones he shook as PDP, as ABGA governor and PDP vice presidential candidate, he betrayed their trust by calling them criminals, by just making it look like they are absolutely responsible for the state of Nigeria. Now he's gone back to swallow on his own dung, and they are happy to see him have that swallow. They're happy to carry him along as he swallows that thing, but a time will come when they will tell him it is what it is.
So that's your reason why you think Peter Obi may not be Nigeria's president?
He won't be president. He can only be president if he takes his time to play this politics for longer. But unfortunately, then 20 years plus. How old is he now? Maybe 66.
Well, you are not God, Omojuwa.
Oh, you see, you know the problem with what you've just said. You've ignored all the rational arguments I've been making.
But
and you're throwing in a straw man argument.
The basis of my of my question is that there have been surprises.
My brother,
did you ever envisage that Peter Obi was going to get the kind of support and votes that he got? Did you ever envisage it?
What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is probably Tuesday.
It's not probably. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Why did you say probably? Why do journalists behave like this? Tomorrow is Tuesday. You're not God, but you know tomorrow is Tuesday. You know why we know tomorrow is Tuesday? Because today is Monday. When this happens, this happens. When that happens, that happens. It doesn't make you God. It just makes you.
But there are surprises, God. Like I said.
In life, there are surprises. But you see, when you're having conversations about trends, about politics, you don't speak based on the outlier. You don't speak based on the surprises. You speak based on the convention and the norm.
So
what I'm saying now is that
Peter Obi is far away from becoming Nigeria's president anytime soon.
Because I take exception to you saying I'm not God. I need to land it. I need to land it.
Are you God though?
Because I need people to know that I'm not playing God. So I need to land it because I don't like somebody telling me I'm not God. I never tried to be God. God gave us our intellect for a reason. He gave us cognition for a reason. The philosophers over the years, the Nietzsche, the Youngs, the Aristotles, Socrates, all these guys, they designed these things for us to be able to have rational conversations. If this happens, we did this thing in logic. If this happens, that happens. If that happens, that happens. This and this can happen together, but this and this will not happen together. And then you can then make a final decision. So on the back of all of that is why I'm saying that this person will not become president. Now, if he perseveres and persists and continues to run for the past 40 years, who knows?
Amechi said he will only run for one time. Peter Obi said he will only run for one time.
No, not run. That they will stay in power.
I mean, he will just run for. He will do only 4 years because
run and being president. They said they will be there for one time.
So the question is that don't you think that narrative will go far in the minds of those who think that the rotational presidency concept
the beauty
is favorable?
You know how I like to have my conversations? I try to have conversations that are devoid of emotion and just play with logic. The reason I use logic is because even though logic thins the number of people that can agree with you, at least it makes you feel better that this thing is not a noise-making exercise. It's not a shouting exercise. It's just logic. So now, the current president, if he wins, cannot run again based on the Nigerian constitution as it is. If Asiwaju wins in 2027, he has to hand over on the 29th of May, 2031. No, you don't have to appeal to his good nature. You don't have to appeal to anything. It is not in his hands. If he wins a second time, he has to hand over in 2031. Any other person apart from Goodluck Jonathan, in this country as it is, any other person that is able to run in 2037 does not have to hand over in 2031. As a rational human being who knows what power does to people, who knows how power doesn't change them, makes them realize the ability, the agency, the capacity and capability and opportunity that they have, and to get away with certain things, who would they trust to have that power? A rational person would trust somebody that doesn't have to make the decision. A rational person would just trust that at least they will trust the law. That no matter what happens, this person that has spent one time before has to go, versus somebody that they have to go and be reminded. I don't know if you, first of all, you cannot even go and remind the president. You cannot go and remind the Nigerian president. I don't know if you remember when you were running in 2027, you said you will do, because don't forget, nobody is the president alone. You preside as a group. So let's be clear.
Yeah, but I mean,
it is easier said. Yeah. Do you know there's nobody that has ever been president that comes and says, apart from Mandela, and Mandela's condition was a very different condition. Go and check. And again, I already said about outliers. We are not going to use outliers to make judgment. We're going to make judgments based on the norm. The norm says that nobody that has a chance to run again has stepped away from running. And that's what it is.
I mean, you made an argument and you said Peter Obi lacks political structure in the villages and at the grassroots level. But if you look at the figures and what came out of the election of 2023, Obi won in places like Lagos and Abuja.
I'm happy for him.
And these are strongholds where even well-established parties with traditional structures struggled. How do you respond to those who view these not as a weakness, but as evidence of a new kind of political movement or evolution that's taking shape in Nigeria?